Jim Jones has been hot for the last few years. Nas has been hot for about 3-4 decades. Let that sink in. Jones makes good music, but he doesn't make timeless music. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. This is Can I Be Earnest, back with another video. Black media. The thing about black media right now, it's like the hottest thing cooking. And so every day there's a news story, apparently, whether it's in hip hop, sports, the podcasting world, something's always jumping. Let's get right into this Jim Jones Nas debate. First off, what are we talking about? What are we even talking about? Jim Jones has been hot for the last few years. Nas has been hot for about 3-4 decades. Let that sink in. They're both roughly in the same age range. Jimmy might be just touching 50. Nas might be in his 50s. So what? Same age range, if you ask me. It's not a huge, significant gap. I've been more of a fan, personally, of the whole Cameron, Jim Jones style of rap as opposed to Nas coming up. Nas wasn't one of my favorites, admittedly. He has become one of my favorites over the last, I'd say, 20 years. But there's no comparison. As someone like myself who used to subscribe to, the Source magazine and Double XL, and I have over 300 CDs and a bunch of mixtapes that I won't throw away, a bunch of cassette tapes listening to freestyles on certain radio stations, streaming, downloading, whatever. When I'm working out or if I'm just in a certain mood, yeah, I'm listening to more of that Dipset type of rap, that Jim Jones type of rap. Personally, I am. But I'm also intelligent to know that Jim Jones couldn't walk a day in Nas's shoes. A day. It's not even a comparison. And again, I personally think Jim Jones is trolling. I hope he is. There's one thing to be confident in your abilities as a rapper, as an artist. It's okay to be confident. He's starting to pen some decent lyrics these days. Decent. Is he some lyricist? No. Is he some bar master? No. He's not gonna compete with the likes of a Styles P or Nas or whomever he's trying to challenge. Pusha T, never. But Jim Jones makes decent music. His music is head nodding. His beat selection is superior compared to Nas. But Nas is a lyricist. He's a lyricist. He's on the Mount Rushmore. He has to be. Not just for New York rap, for all the rap. And if he's not on the Mount Rushmore, he's definitely in most people's top 5. He has to crack your top 10. Jim Jones doesn't. He just doesn't, unless you're 23 years old right now or 20 years old and you're just not familiar with Nas's catalog. But, we're going back and forth on this topic and we're just giving Jim Jones what he wants. This is what he's looking for. He said he knows how to trigger the algorithm, and he's right. This has become a news topic, but it's gonna end today with me because Jim Jones doesn't crack most people my age top 10. We know him for being Cam's hype man back in the late 90s. Sure, he held his own on those Diplomat CDs. Sure, he's held his own on his own CDs. We know he has a couple of hood classics. Ballin', whatever. I wasn't a fan of Ballin', kind of lame to me, but we understand what it did for him financially and what it did for him mainstream. It put Jones on the map. And for that, he has to get applauded for. But he's taken it a little too far. We know it's personal. It has to be. Jim Jones was going at Nas since 2004. 04, 05, might have been 03. He was going at him then on Hot 97. Listen to Cam's Come Home With Me. There's a track on there where Jones clearly comes at Nas. Talking about how we share the same last name, and if I see you, and he used to be the Koofy slapper back in the day, Jim Jones. When Jim Jones was on those DVDs talking his smack, and getting all of, New York riled up and had all these rappers coming at him. Jones was a notorious shit talker. And he's mellowed out some. Hopefully old age is he's becoming more wise. But then I have to question some of his actions. Why are you poking the bear? Nas is quiet. He's opening up casinos. He's opening up restaurants. He made some, big lucrative deal a few years back. I forget what it was, but it was a huge investment, and he's been fine. Nas doesn't really go at people, So Jones is kind of barking up the wrong tree. I would love to see Jones spar up with guys who still get busy. He won't do that though. He won't. And I don't want to see no gang stuff. I want to see Jones go bar for bar. If he feels like he's that dude now, I want you to go bar for bar with the lyricists out right now. You won't. But leave Nas alone, man. Anyone with a brain and some kind of knowledge of hip hop knows where Nas stands and where Jones stands as an artist. Sure, Jim Jones is a fashionable guy and he has the youngsters wearing certain looks. But what's fashion for a 20-year-old may not be fashionable for people my age and older. And Jones is in that range. He's worrying about getting the kids involved and the impact he's had on kids, on young folk. No one cares. Your peers don't care about that. They don't. Like, you're bragging about the influence you've had with pocket chains and certain, designer brands. Like, really? No one cares, bro. Like, seriously, no one cares. I'd never to this day wore a pocket chain. And my fashion, listen, I've known how to dress since I was about 7 years old. What you call fashion may not be fashion for everybody else. Jim Jones likes to pretend he's some kind of young buck. He'll make comments like I was listening to Nas when I was in high school back in '94. Jones acts like he's some, youngster. Bro, you're in the same age group. You're touching 50. Don't act like Nas is some grandfather. He ain't Grandmaster Flash. He ain't one of the forefathers from the mid 70s in the South Bronx. Nas came up in the early to mid 90s. But Jones tries to pretend he's like this young dude. And listen, I blame you guys. I blame the fans, man. Jones should have been checked years ago. Years ago. And I feel like people are afraid of him because he used to be a loose cannon. And I don't know, what impact he has on the culture as far as like just who he rubs elbows with in the industry. But people should have checked Jones a long time ago when he started all this gang banging on track for New York City. Someone should have checked him then, called him out then. We let Jones get too far, man. Cam takes little jabs at him here and there, but they're brothers. They spar with each other here and there, and then they don't speak. And then, I don't get too invested with all that, but someone should have G-checked Jones years ago. Now you got him feeling himself in 2025, man. This cat is feeling himself. Sure, he makes decent music. I'm not going to ever dispute that. Like I said, I prefer Jones' music than I do Nas' music most of the time. I like certain style rap. When I want to get on my whole, intellect, vibe out, Nas is the guy. The Nas's, the Talib Kweli's, the Lupe Fiascos, those are the guys I turn to. Because Nas didn't make a lot of head nodders. His music made you think, which is awesome. And we need more of that. But when you working out and stuff, or you just want to drive in your car, you want to hear some headbangers. You want to nod your head. You want to have an angry face and still be in a good mood. And Jones and Dipset and all those guys were doing that back in the day with the heat makers and all that stuff. Jones makes good music, but he doesn't make timeless music. And that's why Nas gets the nod.